Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Qdabra's webinar. Thank you for coming to see it. Today, we're talking about surveys. This is a topic that we get frequently asked about, and we've done webinars in the past, but nothing recently. So we're redoing it, and we're providing some new samples for you that are fresh, that work in Forms Viewer. First off, I've got a quick poll for you. Actually, I got two questions. Well, what kind of surveys or questionnaires do you have today? Maybe you don't have any. But this is just a quick question to kind of get us thinking about surveys. Just in the last 2 weeks, I've been asked by at least 3 customers about surveys, different kinds of business. One of them was in the legal profession, and they want a questionnaire for litigation, or for interrogatory, as they call them. And then we have other customers that want questionnaires for a variety of reasons, but it looks like most of you are in the simple boat, 38% answering that, 25 for the second and the third, the long and the complex set with conditions. But nobody is actually responding about the scalable option. This would be like if you have thousands of responses that you have to gather. Let's ask one more question. If I can do this. Okay, and we'll do this last question here is, what are you using today for your surveys? Maybe you haven't created one, maybe you're using InfoPath, maybe you're using something like SurveyMonkey or Microsoft Forms. We'll show you how to use Forms Viewer today to create surveys, and we'll actually give you the surveys. Looks like quite a few of you are using SurveyMonkey. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And then there's about half and half on the haven't created one yet and InfoPath, and there's a few people using Microsoft Forms, so that's great. Okay, so without any further ado, I want to talk to you today about surveys. We're going to see 3 demos quickly. I did a demo about a month, 2 months ago, and then also in July on where we were doing SMS text authentication, how to verify external users with cell phones. And as part of that demo, we showed a survey, a very simple survey, and I'll start with that one. And then the second demo will be this dynamic one level. So we're going to extend the survey from just one form hard-coded to a form that has editable questions with some, actually I don't think there's any conditionality with that second one. I think I lied there. But then we'll move to one that has conditionalities, if sub-questions. And then we have a very massive, incredibly complex survey solution that we developed many, many years ago that we're going to try to also move over and show you how this works with SQL, but that won't be until next month. So that's my goal for today, is to do those 3 demos. So demo number 1, let's just do it right now. I've got, let's see here, when did I do it? Okay, yeah. So on 7/19, we did this demo, and if you go to our webinar page underneath past webinars, you'll see 7/19. You can also download the 8/9 ones. This is the same one, part 2, and you just download the files there. I'm not going to make it part of the package today, but it is there for you to download from August. So what we demoed was this form that allows you to use your cell phone to authenticate. So I'm already in the system, so I'm going to quickly enter it's going to try to ask me who I am, and then it's going to authenticate me. So the first step is I need to type in my password, or my email. There's actually no password used at all in this solution, which was one of the reasons why it's more secure. So then it looks up my phone number from an internal list. I've activated my account, and it asks me to type in the last 4 digits of my phone number, and then I can actually get a text message, which is should be instantaneous. There it is, 8703. And if I type in the wrong thing, it says I get the wrong one. So if I type in this one, it's going to say no, it's incorrect. This is a way you can authenticate users even if they're not part of your SharePoint site. Now we can fill out the survey. This is a very simple survey. It's got 4 questions in it. It's got, anyway, we just had some silly questions about forms here in here. So I'm just going to click these like this. Doesn't really matter which ones I choose. I can choose more than one and submit it. So let's take a look at this questionnaire real quick, and then we'll move on to demo 2. This is just an example of a really simple one. We have a new UI for Forms 0 out there as of yesterday, and we'll talk a little bit about the update at the end of the webinar today. Jimmy Rich is going to be doing our webinar next week, and he's going to go through all the details. So I need to download this form. I forgot to download the simple one before I started the webinar today, so give me 1 second to do that. And just quickly show this form. And this form is, like I said, it's not exactly hard-coded, but it's, we're going to get an open here. I got too many things open. Okay. Okay, so here's the form, and you can see that it's got these text questions at the top, SMS text, confirmation, authentication. At the bottom, you see there's a repeating area here that has the questions in it. And you can see the first question there, but you can't see the other ones. You're wondering to yourself, well, where are the other questions? And this form is not completely hard-coded. In fact, if we look at the data source on the right here, you can see that, if I can share my screen correctly, that the survey has this normalized set of questions. So it is extensible. Right now, we're storing all of the questions in our default values, and this is something underneath data. If you've taken one of our classes before, we talk about this data-driven design. This is the first step, is to put the questions in this kind of a format, and then it's easier to export them. Obviously, this wizard does not scale very well, and so that's the biggest issue. So the next step is, the next demo is going to show the survey questions living in a list, but this is the simple one. So you can see those are where the questions are. Okay, so that's the first one, and I'm going to move right on to the next one because I've got some. I want to talk more about the other ones, which are more interesting. So the next one is going to be simple survey dynamic one level. So the dynamic one level, unlike the simple survey ones, this one here is nice if you want to use smartphone authentication, which is what we demoed in July and August, but it is limited relatively. But it's great for really simple surveys, and you can do it externally. We demoed it to you. I'm going to actually have you fill out this survey with me, and I've got a link here I'm going to put in the chat so we can play along. And so these Forms 0 links work externally, so you should be able to click on them and fill them out from your desktop there. I'm just going to throw this into the chat window, and then I'm going to fill it out myself. So this second one now, if I open it up anonymously, it's going to launch a form, and we've already created one of the surveys. So I've actually used what we call the question creator to create one of these surveys called InfoPath Forms Future Plans. And this is going to then query the list of questions externally and pull them into the form. Probably everyone's doing this at the same time, but it shouldn't be too slow for you. And then you can enter your name and your email. You don't have to if you don't want to. You can just see that the questions are down below here. So this questionnaire is a little bit more interesting. It's got different answer types, so drop downs, radio buttons, and it's got some coloring to make it easy. Anyway, so it's a very simple questionnaire, 4 questions here, not very exciting. Let's take a look at this one. The difference with this one is, once again, the surveys and the questions live in a different location. So it's slightly more extensible. you can have it for more than one survey. And the submit on with anonymous should succeed. It just took a little longer. Okay, there we go. So let's take a look at this form in the designer. This is the previous one. And here it is. So you can see it's a fairly simple form. If I want to create another questionnaire, let's do that. Let's actually create a new one. So I'm just going to open up my question editor. And hopefully this won't take too much time. If you have questions, throw them in the question area, and I'll answer them in a second. Questions for me as opposed to questions for the survey. So you can see here I can create a new survey, my new survey, and I'm going to say, how was the demo for you? Or rate the demo. And we have a rating type here, so let's put this in here. And we'll just make it one question survey. So once I've submitted this, I can go back and I can actually fill out the survey again, and you'll see there'll be two options now, hopefully, if it worked. Normally you'd start from a library. I'm just starting from the Forms Viewer Manage Templates page because it's easy to have everything there. So there's my new survey, and you can see how it's populating these asterisks, these stars here, and I can hit that and hit submit. So so that's how easy it is to create a new survey. Can I hit submit? I think that my submit is broken. Okay, so then let's take a look at the next one then. So once again, demo number 2, a little more interesting, but still fairly simple. So let's take a look at a more complex survey. This is a 2-level survey allowing for sub-questions, and it's got more answer types. In fact, this is a survey we developed many, many years ago for a large corporate customer, Microsoft, their legal department. And they had about 50 different surveys that all had between 40 and 80 questions. So this is a real-life scenario solution that was actually working, living, they were using for many years. I don't think they're using it anymore because they've moved on, but we've actually taken this and moved it to Forms Viewer, and it's a 3-part solution. So you edit your questions, and then you include questions in surveys, and then you can fill out your surveys here. And I'll just throw in a link to this one so you can fill this one out and see what I'm doing here. Now, when you fill this out, you're going to probably want to choose the same options that I have because there's a bunch of surveys we've added. Some of them are kind of confusing. So just take a look at what I fill out here next. I'm going to fill this out anonymously like you. And I'm going to choose technology as my category. So this questionnaire has you select kind of where you want to, there's some grouping behind the survey. So we've actually grouped the surveys by category. So choose technology and electronic forms. I guess there's only 2 categories, so we cleaned it up a little bit. And these should be the same questions you saw previously for simplicity. So what it's doing is on confirm, it's querying this list, pulling the questions in. It's creating the survey on the fly based on the definition. And this is a simple one we've got here, the same questions you saw earlier. But if I click yes here, I see that I've got the conditional sub-questions. So pretty simple. You can see that this is a little more advanced. So this survey has the ability to, you can specify your own value, and you've got other options here. And we're not even looking at the vast array of features this form has. I'll show them to you in a minute. But there you see it. There's a more complex survey. It actually has paging, so once you get to a certain number of questions, it will actually show paging. Let's take a look at this in the designer. And so here's the paging down below there. But on top, you see that you first select the category, the group, and then there's some logic behind the scenes that pulls the questions in, creates the survey on the fly. You can see we have the rating type here. We have people picker, attachments, obviously yes, no, lots of different kinds of answer types based on the questionnaire, and we have sub-questions, and that's about it. So more complex survey, but still following the best practice of normalizing the data. So it's you can compare answers from one survey to another. The IDs are what you use, the answer IDs, and that's critical. Is you want to be able to do equivalence between surveys across time. You don't want to create one survey every single time you do it, because you may have the same questions again, and you might want to run reporting and aggregate the data across them. So I'm just going to go back to the slide quickly, and I'll answer your questions after this. I just want to summarize and say this is a more complex example. The only limitation here with this three-part survey solution is the storage limitations in SharePoint. We're going to be showing that no limits SQL-backed option in about a month, and you can take these solutions and you can adapt them to write to your database. There's some work involved to do that, and you can use our DBXL web service to map your data quickly to a database. It's easy to do. Okay, so I want to quickly answer your questions here, but first let me do my quick ad. So FormsYear is your path to the future. If you have InfoPath forms, obviously you've made an investment. We want to help you capture those investments that you've made and continue to drive that car. Because it works today, you don't have to upgrade to a Tesla P100D, even though it's very fast and wonderful. It's $140,000. Why buy a Tesla when you can continue driving your 1997 car? The same is true for InfoPath. InfoPath works great in FormsYear. We've actually added new features. Forms migrate as is. You don't even have to migrate them. It's just an upgrade process in place. So there's no lift and shift, so to speak. There's just upgrade in place. You've got support for mobile, support for SMS text, face recognition, new web service APIs. We just released 3.2. You can find out more on our web page. Okay, questions. And Kathy had name and email. Okay, thank you for that. Yes, so probably the reason why when I created a new survey and I couldn't submit it was because I didn't fill it out correctly. Thank you, Kathy. So apparently that is required. And that's the only question we have currently. But if you have other questions, please do let me know. So we're going to package these up and put them in your webinar package today with some documentation. So you're going to get 5 different forms. There's the V1, the question editor, and the V1 are part of the initial solution, the demo 1, the demo 2 that I showed, and then there's 3 forms that are part of demo 3, the question creator, the survey creator, and the survey filler 2A. So there's some documentation as well, so you don't have to worry about remembering that. And then there's a presentation, and then there are some files that you'll need to deploy to keep track of all of these. I didn't show this in the demo, but we actually have all of the questions and the surveys being submitted to the SharePoint site. And this is 365, so they're being submitted to lists and libraries here. If we go to our SharePoint site, and hopefully I got the right one here, it doesn't look like I'm in the right place. So let me go to the right place. So we created a survey site, and this has all the lists on it. And we'll see quickly that that the data I was submitting is actually going to show up here. And this is all modern UI. Everything works great in modern nowadays. If you haven't upgraded your form libraries to modern with FormsYear, I highly recommend that you do that. The FormsYear extensions is available for download, and you can run that. If you go to site contents here, you'll see that I have it installed. And FormsYear extensions allows you to quickly upgrade a classic UI to the modern experience. That's what you want there. We did a demo on that. We've talked about this in the past. And you can download it from infopathddev.com or just email me after the webinar if you're interested in getting that. So you can see here are the answers. Let's see who's been answering. this is probably just going to be a flat list of answers. So you can see Kathy, thank you for answering. Miss Susan is answering as well. You can see all of these different answers that you guys have been sending in here have been showing up in my list, and then I can use this to run reports, export to Excel, do whatever, right? So anyway, and all the other lists are like that too. They're live. So the forms submit to those lists using that mapping to repeating option. So more questions. Looks like I do have more questions. So what is the advantage of using Forms here instead of Power Apps? Kathy, great question. The main thing is, so we were just, I guess, awarded one of the charter partnerships with Microsoft for the Power Platform UI. I'm sorry, the Power Platform, which includes Power Apps, Power BI, and Flow. So we at Ignite, Microsoft announced that they're launching this partner program, and if I had my act together, I would go there and quickly show you this. But the business applications were announced this summer, and Qdabra is very happy that Microsoft selected us, one of 11 companies, to work with them on the new, so we're the charter member here. And you can see there's our name right there. So we can do Power Apps. We've been doing Power Apps in Flow for many, many years now. We've done training. We've actually deployed several, probably over a dozen solutions by this time. So the question that Kathy has is, well, what's the difference? So my point is that you're going to use a lot of different tools. Back in the 2003 to 2013 time period, you developed tools using InfoPath because that's what Microsoft had. And InfoPath is supported until 2025 or 2026. What we're providing with Forms here is a way to keep that investment. So instead of having to rebuild those existing forms in Power Apps, which may take, 50 to 100 hours per form, some of the simple stuff you can do in 20 to 40 hours. But unlike what Microsoft says with, do it in a day or do it in an hour, most of the more complex Power Apps are going to take you 100 to 200 hours or even more. One of the key Power Apps that were demoed at the BizApps Summit in July was from Dave Chenault, and he's in San Diego, and he's a great guy. And he showed a form, a CRM-based form that took like 1,000 hours to develop. So most of the real-world solutions will take time. So Forms here is great for your existing forms. Upgrade them in place. You don't have to reinvest in Power Apps. Power Apps is great for new forms. So if you got a new solution that has to be on mobile, Power Apps is a great idea. If you have a new solution that does not have to be on mobile, desktop, Power Apps supports that as well. I would say for your existing forms, InfoPath forms, use Forms here. For anything that's new, use Power Apps. But you can still use InfoPath Designer and Forms here for those new solutions as well. It doesn't require any retraining. There are some limitations in Power Apps today that InfoPath is still can do things that Power Apps doesn't do. And we've extended it to work with mobile as well. So you've really got both options, but I think that if I were to choose, I'd say for simple forms that you want to be responsive in the field on someone's mobile device, because Power Apps is a rich client on the mobile device. It's going to be a better experience for your customers if they use a Power App for that simple mobile device-centric data collection. Forms here can work in that environment, but it will be a little slower to open. Instead of the 1 or 2 second open times with Power Apps, you'll get a 3 to 5 second open time or something like that. So hopefully I answered your question, Kathy. Sorry that was so long. Misty's got a question. Would I be able to give a general user access to create their own surveys, or would they have to have admin access? Great question. So Misty, you should be able to create surveys using those anonymous external links here. So in fact, I could probably give you one right now. You could try it. But yeah, you should be able to give them, because this works anonymously, they should be able to create the surveys as well anonymously. And so yeah, yes to your question. Pete, it's great to see you here. Will the surveys work in the on-prem version? Yes, they will. And I believe we have a package that, and thanks for being part of the inspiration today. I know that you asked for surveys several weeks ago, and we went off and we decided to repackage these, and hopefully they will work for you. They definitely should work on Prem. Great question. You're probably leading me to say that for everyone else here. Yes, they will work on Prem, as you know. And then Shane, thanks for saying we're awesome and on the charter membership. Yeah, great to have you here. And yes, I think that's it. It's wonderful to see everyone. Thank you for the positive comments. I hope you have a wonderful fall day. I will be off next week. Jimmy's going to be doing the webinar that describes what we just gave you in 3.2 Forms Viewer. And if you're curious, you can go to our website and take a look. We actually have, I believe we have all the details posted just this morning on. Let's see if we go to what's new. You'll see that we just updated this yesterday night to this morning, and we put all the new stuff in here for 3.2. And 3.2 was the last time we shipped Forms Viewer was May. So it's been like 5 months. It's been a long time, and we hope to get another version out this year. We're still working on the canvas editing capabilities, so you can design your forms layout in the browser. We're committed to getting that done. It's taking us longer than we hope, but we will get there and we will get done. Appreciate your patience. So Jim is going to be talking about 3.2. He'll also be available to answer any questions you have for 3.3. Once again, the first version, the first number and the version number is the year. So this is the third year that we actually have been selling Forms Viewer. We actually have had it out now for almost 5 years, but and this is the second release this year. First one was in May. So 3.3 will be hopefully by December, and we'll have a new UI for editing rules in the browser in the Forms Viewer Design tab, and we'll have more features as well. And then the week after that, Mel Clemente will be diving into Power Apps yet again to show you offline forms. This has been on our list of webinars now for a couple months. We definitely want to get it done, and appreciate your patience waiting for that. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you again for being here. Look forward to having you here next week and in November. Take care.